I'm a part-time worker. I've worked for the same guy for about 10 years now. He's a sole trader. I'm his only member of staff. So right at the beginning of this, it was around mid-March. I left work because I wasn't well and I'd not been feeling well for a month or more. I just felt really lousy. I couldn't shake whatever it was off. And I also have two sons. My youngest son has a heart condition, a valve problem. And he'd had 2 episodes of arrhythmia, which really, really made him poorly and freaked him out massively. So I left work mid-March and came home to Shield with him because I didn't want to bring something home to him, being a shop worker and being in contact with so many people, handling money and, various things. I thought the best thing to do would be to come home and Shield with him and protect him. So I attempted to get a sick note at first, which was impossible. All the doctor's surgeries just went into meltdown. Couldn't really get any answers as to whether I could have a sick note or the doctor will get back to you. The doctor never got back to me. So I let the guy that I work for know, look, I won't be in. He's a personal friend, or at least I thought he was a personal friend as well. I told him that I was staying home to protect my son, and that was that. So he paid me £40 sick pay. The correct amount should have been £41 and a penny, but he rounded it down to £40, because earning minimum wage and being a sole parent, paying a mortgage and all the rest of the bills, you can obviously survive a week on £40. So I did 2 weeks on the sick, and then lockdown basically was introduced. So then I asked to be furloughed, and he agreed that he would try and furlough me. And then when all came to all, I had my unions back in as well, which was really appreciated at the time. And they contacted him. He said he'd furlough me, but the guy I work for is a very selfish man, and he would never pay for software to link his business up to HMRC. He would always try and get a blank version off the internet so he didn't have to pay for it. Well, when those lines all came to nothing, he couldn't get any more blank versions. He just decided he wasn't going to bother with HMRC software anymore. So anyway, to cut a long story short, he agreed to furlough me. But because my wage is minimum wage and I work part-time and I don't earn enough to have deductions taken out of my wage, there is no payroll number at work for me. He doesn't run a payroll. Now, by law, he doesn't have to. If he had, say, a dozen staff and they all worked minimum wage jobs at maybe 16 hours a week, none of them would earn enough to have deductions, tax and insurance taken out of their wages. So you do not have to run a payroll. But HMRC's criteria was, in order to receive furlough money, you have to give them a payroll reference number. So that was that. So basically, from mid-March, I've had 0 income, not a penny, not a brass tack. The TUC apparently, when someone spoke to them about this issue of part-time workers, they hadn't thought about people like us, was the reply. So that also covered, I presume, everyone on a 0-hour contract, or at least 0-hour contracts that are not getting a lot of hours. They were all in the same boat as well. It was great to know that we weren't thought about. So my son ended up losing his job because of this, 6 months away from serving his time as apprentice. He went on the sick for 3 months. He got £95 a week. When he got back to work, they goaded him. He'd saved them a fortune, they said, because they only had to pay him £95 a week instead of furloughing him, and he was entitled to furlough, apparently, which they never bothered to tell him. So he's now lost his apprenticeship that he's done 3.5 years towards. Been so stressed about everything that's happened that he thought he'd had a heart attack at 21 years of age. So 4 weeks ago, I had 3 paramedics in my living room putting heart monitors on him, trying to figure out what was going on with his heart. And this was all, again, because of lousy employers. It was about nothing else. So that's my story, personally. I lost my parents and I inherited a small amount of money. If that hadn't happened, I would now be on the streets and I would have had my house repossessed, because the savings that I had meant I couldn't claim universal credit. Not that I want to go near universal credit. They're not getting their claws into me. I've campaigned about that evil since before it was launched, because we knew exactly what universal credit was going to do. So, and I value my mental health too much to let universal credit start chewing me up and spitting me out. And I understand other people do not have that luxury. So that's basically what's happened to me. As far as sick pay is concerned, I personally don't think it should have taken COVID for us to be launching campaigns. I'm really glad that it's been launched and that we are going to campaign around this, but I don't think it should have taken this, because this has been a problem for absolutely decades, and this has been successive governments as well, not just one government, and all of them have roundly ignored it. Now, when I hear the word statutory, the only thing that I think of is pittance in every form, whether that's maternity pay, whether that's sick pay, whatever it is, holiday entitlement. When we talk about statutory, it just means we are going to give you the least that we can get away with. And that has always been the case. So hell yeah, this needs campaigning around, needs to stop. You should not have to go to work when you are ill. It's ridiculous. It's inhumane. And once the physical part of it is over, it affects the mental part of it as well. This is what they don't see. And we're not even talking about mental health, because that's an invisible disease, and employers, I think they just think it's all made up, that it's just some fantasy thing that people trot out when they don't want to go to work. The majority of people want to work. They would like to be appreciated, maybe at work as well. And I don't see a lot of that going on right now. So I'm proud to be involved with this campaign. It is long overdue, and it shouldn't have taken COVID, quite frankly, for us all to be rallying about the pittance that every worker in this company, and don't forget, if you're part-time, you don't get £95 because it's pro rata. It's ridiculous. You still have the same bills, and when you are off work sick as well, you are at home, you are using your heating, you're using your electricity, it all snowballs. So it costs you a lot of money. No one's going to stay at home if there's nothing wrong with them on £95 a week. It's ridiculous to suggest that. So I think I will reiterate what everyone else says: join a union. It is the biggest form of democracy in the world, and they hate it. Join a union and solidarity.